Hey everybody, what's up, what's up, what's up? It's the Christian Jamaican Coolie once more. And I know, again, it has been a very long time since I dropped a video. But this video is very special right now because it has the animation that I have been promising that I was going to start getting into and that I was going to start, producing my videos with. And you guys can critique it all you want, but it's my first work, so it took me a long time to do it. And of course, because I don't have all those expensive animation software, I couldn't have done it right, like some people anyway. But I did my best, and of course there could be more done to it, but time is of the essence. But as everybody knows, I have been in a legal battle with my ex-boss, who is also my landlord. And this is gonna I'm gonna talk about a few points, and then we're gonna get right into the video. But the situation is this: that since we reopened in June of 2020, June 22nd of 2020, a couple of days after my son was born, I have not been paid, not a dime, not a shilling, and so when I resigned in August 2020, I basically sued my ex-boss in small claims court. And he countersued, and he countersued with baseless claims. I sued him based off of wage theft, whatever it is. One of the things that I really tried when I went to court was that I tried to show the consistency by which this guy did things, like how he did it, how he lied, his business ethics, things like that. So whenever in court, while we're in court, if there's anything I'm going to tell anybody about court, is that make sure that even if you're going to represent yourself, do your best to research your situation, get as much advice from an attorney. Sometimes you can pay an attorney for consultation if you cannot afford one. Legal aid was no help to me. I tried legal aid did not assist me with anything. As a matter of fact, it was very difficult to even get through to legal aid. And by the time I got through to legal aid called me back, must have been a week afterwards, and told me that, oh, they can't help me because I'm the person who is suing. And then when it turned around that he was countersuing again, I couldn't get through to legal aid. And legal aid didn't even call me back because I left tons and tons of messages, just as I am leaving tons and tons of messages now, because we received a judgment for this, for this case against my ex-boss, meaning that the judge ruled in our favor, in my favor. He obviously appealed, and I received the appeal last week, on the 1st of December, and he filed on the 23rd of November. And then you have 20 days to basically refile your respondent to the appeal. And that's a lot of research, that to even use that word respondent, I had to research and find out that's who I am in this case. I am the respondent to his appeal, or I am the appealee. In any case, what's going on right now is that we can't afford an attorney. Again, I'm going to end up defending myself in court, and I find it very disheartening and very discouraging in America, where I see the situation play out again in life. The income inequality and the disgusting fact of the justice system, not only in America but worldwide, where the little guy like myself cannot find an attorney because I cannot afford one. And the ones that they claim that you can try to afford, they don't or will not or cannot help you. And so most times you end up as a little guy losing a case, or you end up having a lot of abuse happen to you because you cannot afford an attorney. You cannot find a pro bono attorney either. Because it's not as easy as it sounds to just get up and find a pro bono attorney that is gonna take your case. You know what I mean? So right now it stands at is. I want you guys to look at the video. I hope you enjoy it and stuff, and then I'm gonna leave my PayPal link in the description box below. Please, I'm asking for donations to help us, even in some way, shape or form, because as I've said on many past videos, that we've fallen on hard times. We're trying to get by. I have a job. It's not paying so well, but it's much better than the job that I had before. At least they legitimately pay me for the work I do. So I'm giving thanks for all you fans out there. Any money you give is, it's highly appreciated. So thank you, and take a look at the video.
It was a pretty nice drive that morning. There was no traffic on the road, so it was really easy getting to court. We walked in with a couple of minutes to spare, and he and his lawyer also came in and basically sat down across from us, because we weren't going to sit down, beside them. We sat down across from him. I wanted him to look us in the freaking eye. This guy was so terrified of us that he was basically tapping his feet on the ground. That's how nervous he was about the situation that we were going to face today. So basically, after a couple of minutes, his lawyer introduced himself to us and asked me if I wanted to go outside and talk about the situation. So I said, sure, why not? I tell my wife to stay there, and we head out into the hallway. So when we got into the hallway, he basically said to me, Mr. Doctor, Mr. Valdez would like to bring this situation to a close. And I said, we would love to do that too. So he basically said to me, he doesn't want it to go to court. He doesn't want to take it this far. And he has come up with some offers in terms of, the situation. And so he basically said to me, I said to him, okay, what is the offer that he is giving us right now? So the offer is that he's giving us a cash for keys offer. And, he says, if you don't take it, then, whatever. But here's what's going to happen. If you win, he's going to appeal. And likewise, if he wins, you're going to appeal, obviously, and then the situation will be dragged out. So I said to him that you guys had all this time to mediate with us. You had all this time to mediate with us, and you waited until it was 5 minutes before we went into court. 5 minutes before we went into court, and you want to mediate with us. This tells me that you guys know that you're not going to win this court case. So basically I said to him, you know what? Let me bring my wife out here so that both of us can make a well-informed decision. Because I wasn't just going to go strike it down, but at the same time, I really wasn't going to take cash for keys either. So I stepped back into the lobby area where my wife is sitting, and I go get my wife. Both of us come back to the lawyer, and I ask him to basically just repeat what you said to her, to me. So in any case, he repeats the whole situation. He says basically his client is offering us cash for keys for the house, And that's basically it. And he wants us out as soon as possible. I said, listen, dude, again, you guys waited until the very last second, 5 minutes before we even go inside to the judge, and you want to mediate. You had all this time, and this time I was saying this before my wife, you had all this time to mediate with us, and you chose not to, which tells me what you guys are doing, and which tells me that you guys know that you're not going to win this case. In any case, I said to him that no, here is our offer. Our offer is this: if your client can offer me half of what he owes me right now and half when I leave the house, then I am not taking any of the offer. And yes, if he appeals, it won't matter. It shouldn't matter to you either, because if he appeals, he still has to pay you, and that's money in your pocket. So with that, he understands what we're saying, and he says, okay, obviously we're going to take it before the judge. And I said, yes, we're going to take it before the judge. So, after we sit down, it was just like a couple of seconds, just a couple of seconds as we sat down, and they called us into the courtroom. So inside the courtroom, he and his lawyer sat on one side, and I sat by myself because, my wife is not a legal representative, or I don't know if she was allowed if we were doing it, together or anything. But I basically sat by myself against him and his lawyer. And this is how it goes. So we're standing before the judge, and he's reading the file, he's calling our names, and he basically asks, who is this person? And I answer. Then he asking, who is this person? And he and his lawyer answer. And then we get down to the meat of the matter now. So we're just gonna pause for a second. So I get up and I start presenting my case. So I had a little piece of paper where I was just going to be concise, hit the points, and just like basically answer any question. So I did my best to prepare. And that's one thing I have to tell everybody right now. When you're going to court, don't try to do a long, drawn out story. This was what I was advised by many people who have been to small claims or any court for that. It's not like a TV court. You write down your points, you do your best to hit your points right away. If the judge stops you to ask you a question, make sure you have a very good yes or no answer. So if he asks you yes, then you say yes, Your Honor. If he asks you no, then no, Your Honor. If he asks you why, then you answer a why, but never answer beyond a yes or no unless the judge is asking for more than a yes or no. All right. So now that we've established that, let's get into how I presented my case. So I basically started to read from my paper, and I said, good morning, Your Honor. Thank you for hearing my case. I'm here because Mr. Valdez has exploited me, taken advantage of me, and has not paid me for the hours I have worked, which he has admitted to in his countersuit. Mr. Valdez flat out refused to pay me because I have two children and a wife to provide for. I resigned from working as a gymnastics coach at his business, Ben Salem Gymnastics, to go and find work elsewhere. So the judge paused me there, and he asked me like quick questions like, what was your job like, how much you got paid, how much hours you work, etc., etc. So quick answers like that. So like I said before, when you're answering the judge, don't go into anything other than a yes or a no. Just answer the question and move on. So he says, okay, continue. So I said to him, to which I received threatening texts that my family and I will be thrown out of the house we're renting from him by the police. Further, he has also physically brought the police there to do it. I have the police report as proof of this, as well as the screenshot of his threatening text. By this time, this dude is looking over at me and wondering, wow, he thought that I was going to come to court with without preparing myself. I think that's how stupid he thought I was going to be. He has also threatened through hearsay to have my vehicle towed, but I could not get a statement from my neighbor. So he flat out basically, you know, told the judge that that was a lie, which, I mean, why would my neighbor lie about somebody saying that they're going to tow my vehicle? That's like the dumbest thing anybody could do. Mr. Valdez made claims in his countersuit that our rent is a certain amount. I need him to show the court the documentation that we have an agreement of that. We do not have an agreement, nor do we sign a lease, nor do we have anything pertaining to what our rent should be. It does not exist. Working for Mr. Valdez was my only source of income. So he is more than well aware that I did not make this amount a month. The accumulation of the amount he is claiming that I owe him is false and ridiculous. Again, the judge stops me and starts to ask me a couple of questions about, how was rent paid, etc., etc., etc. So I tried my best to just get through my part really quickly so that the judge could hear my side and hear my points. And that was the most important part for me. So I let the judge know that, okay, basically, rent was paid out of my pay before I got it. He turns to, Mr. Valdez and says, "Is this true?" And this dude admits to it and said, "Yes, this is true." The judge once again tells me to continue, and then I went on to my second to last point where I said he also claims that he paid off a credit card for me, but I do not own, nor have I ever owned a credit card, so I do not know what he is talking about. And then the judge asks a couple of questions again, but not pertaining to the credit card. He asks, in terms of, how much hours I worked and, what happened during the pandemic. And I explained the situation, whereas when the gym locked down, how I was not paid while the gym was locked down. And then, I was worked throughout the summer camp. And I told him that the hours that Mr. Valdez is admitting to that he didn't pay me for, which was 307 hours, this man has admitted to people. Listen to this, people. This man has admitted to not paying me for 307 hours, right? And I said, and I said to him, that's incorrect. The hours that I was not paid for was $360. So this guy is basically in court putting his foot in his mouth. And then now we're coming up to his side, what he and his lawyer were doing. And let me tell you something, people. If you were a fly on the wall, you would laugh, man. You would definitely laugh like my wife did. So now we come to his side of the fence where his lawyer takes over. So his lawyer, first and foremost, he makes the case that I haven't paid rent and things like that. The judge stops. He asks him a question about the rent. What was their agreement, etc., etc., etc. So the judge didn't ask me anything about, why didn't you pay rent or anything like that. Because remember, we've already established that rent came out of my pay before I got my pay. So I guess it was like kind of like a closed case where the rent was concerned. In any case, he asked my past employer, my ex-boss, so why didn't you pay him? So he said, well, Your Honor, he didn't pay his rent. So the judge looks at him and said, well, you just admitted that rent comes out of his pay before he gets it. So if you don't pay him, how is he gonna pay rent? Okay, so this guy is basically flabbergasted by the judge saying that to him. So his lawyer moves on to the next point, in which he produces some credit card paper. So he produces the credit card paper, a Yelp ad that I did with the company's credit card, and he gives it to me, and he says, do you recognize this?" And I said, "Yeah, it's the Yelp ad I did for the business." And he says, Your Honor, the my client paid off a credit card for this guy." I said, "No, this was done for his business. In no way, shape, or form did I benefit from doing this advertisement for the business. This was for his business." And I stressed that like 3 times. I stressed it. I said this was done for his business. So the lawyer now looks at the judge and he says, Your Honor, I have to basically withhold that. We have to take that off the books because I basically, this is new information to me. So I'm like, under my breath, you're damn right. That's new information. He freaking lied to you. So the judge basically moves over to him now, my ex boss, and starts asking him, why didn't you pay him? And this dude comes up with the biggest lie ever. And I'm going to tell you this man's name. His name is Anthony Valdez. Okay, his name is Anthony Valdez. And listen to the lie that this man told on me in court. He told the judge that I didn't want to get paid. He told the judge that he kept saying to me, write down your hours, write down your hours. I kept telling him, Your Honor, to write down his hours. He didn't write down his hours, Your Honor. And then he waited until he resigned and broke into the gym to write down his hours. Now, let me repeat that again, people. This man basically told the judge that I did not write down my hours and that's why I didn't get paid. So it's my fault I didn't get paid. And then after I resigned, I broke into the gym just to write down my hours. After that, the judge looks at him. His lawyer looks at him. I look at him. And then I say, Your Honor, does that make any amount of sense to you? That I would break into a gym. The man owes me money. I know where the cash box is. I know where the checks are. I know where every single thing is. I break in and I write down my hours. I'm saying, Your Honor, that is so stupid. And with everything that he was saying, I had a folder for it. So whenever he would speak and say a point, I pulled out a folder and I said, Excuse me, Your Honor, I can verify that this is not true, and blah 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 blah. So I said, Your Honor, I've been documenting my hours and I can show you through my phone, I can submit it as evidence right now that I have been documented from way in June my hours. So what he is saying is a blatant lie. Furthermore, Your Honor, there is cameras inside that gym, and there is no way I could go inside that gym and one of the cameras not catch me. So I need this guy to provide some evidence that I broke into the gym. So the courtroom went totally deafening silent because of the sheer stupidity that came out of this guy's mouth and how many times he kept putting his own foot in his mouth. And there was a whole heap of nailing in his own coffin, burying himself, digging his own grave, and just laying in his own grave that he dug for himself. Now, the judge moved on to, our rental agreement. So basically, he admitted to what we said in terms of our rental agreement. And then he moved up to an exorbitant amount. And I said to him again, Your Honor, as we have established earlier, that I don't make this amount for him to say that this is the amount for the rent. Because if I had to pay him every single thing that I earned at his gym, how would I make a living? How would I basically be able to provide for my family? I have two children, Your Honor. I have a wife and I have a mother-in-law living with me. How am I going to be able to provide for these people? So again, no, I'm sure the judge has to consider that type of information because, of course, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds stupid. And, we get to the point now where his attorney now starts asking me questions, and his attorney was basically shocked at the level of preparedness I had because I'm sure he didn't think I was going to be prepared to answer any questions that he had. And when I answered him, this dude, he had some yes or no answers and he just basically couldn't go anywhere with it. So eventually he had to just say, All right, he's done, Your Honor. So basically, the first question he asked is why didn't you pay your rent? And I said, as we have established before, your client didn't pay me. So if he doesn't take money out of my pay, if he's not paying me, I can't pay rent. So he basically tries to ask the question another way. And I said, You're asking the same question and I'm going to give you the same answer. Your client didn't pay me, so I can't pay rent. So he kind of said something disrespectful to me. And I said to him, Dude, it won't matter how you ask this question. It's going to lead back to the same answer that your client has already admitted to. And that's what I pointed back to every single time. I said, your client has admitted to not paying me. Your client has admitted to my rent coming out of my pay before I get it. So our responsibility of why your client doesn't get rent lies with your client. And so, at that point in time, like I said, he couldn't go anywhere with what he was saying. So he decided to go on another topic. So basically, no, the judge turned back to me and asked me, um, is there anything else that I have to say? And I said, again, I reiterated that, Your Honor, I have not been paid during the pandemic. This is me reading from my paper again. I assisted him in acquiring the Paycheck Protection Program, also known as a PPP loan, through a SBA program provided by the government that stipulates that in order to have his loan forgiven, it should be used to pay your workers, etc., which he promised to pay me. I was never paid from it, which means that Mr. Valdez has committed PPP fraud. So when those dudes, both of them, when they heard me say that, both of them like look at me slowly, and Mr. Valdez basically like threw up his hands in the air, like he's like, where's all of this coming from? And so, I just put it out there to him, and I basically said, he went back to Mr. Valdez and said, Mr. Valdez was basically telling the judge about how I was not on his books and things like that, and I didn't want to get on the books. And I pulled out another folder. So, like I said before, what I was doing constantly, every time he hit a point, I had a folder with information to basically combat that. You understand? To show that he was lying about those points. So he told the judge that I didn't want to get on his books and I wanted to work under the table. And I had the two witness statements. And I said, Your Honor, that is not true. I have here in my hand two witness statements that can verify, if you call them, they can verify that they have worked for Mr. Valdez under the table. So he was starting to sweat. So every time he did or said something, I help him by just basically pulling out those folders and saying, dude, you're lying. So the judge said to me that he's not able to take those witness statements because they're not there and he can't verify them and he's not able to cross examine them. And so I say, you know what, fair enough, fair enough. Because, him can obviously say that he's not talking to the right person or whatever it is. But Mr. Man was over there with his attorney sweating it out. So after all of this now, the judge looks at the both of us and says that it's a very rough situation. It's going to take some time to consider it. And so we're going to receive his judgment in the mail. And, the case was closed from there. We walk out of the courtroom. And that's that. By the way, when my wife and I were leaving the courthouse and we're driving through the parking lot, and Fatas and his lawyer were there talking, and you could see that he was extremely upset. And I think it was because the lawyer knew that they had lost, and we knew they had lost. So, we were perfectly fine with it, though. We're perfectly fine with it. And we just, in a way, we drove off. We looked at them, stared at them the whole time that we were driving off. And to them, that must have been like the middle finger. So that was the video, guys. Hope you liked it. Comment, rate, subscribe, and also donate as your heart leads you to donate. As I said, any little bit helps a lot right now. We are in dire straits. We're doing our best to get by, but any little bit is a lot. So thank you guys. Share the video, subscribe, reach out to me if you can. The description for my Cash App and my PayPal will be in the description box below. Donate as you feel fit. Thank you.